73 days are all that stand between you and football time in Tennessee. The Volatile Podcast is here to remind you that being a Vols fan is a terminal diagnosis that we all share. I'm Mac Williams, and I'm joined tonight by Joe Davis, and for the first time in a month, Jeff Wright. Jeff, how are you doing, man?
Glad to be back, buddy. Miss y'all.
We missed you too. Yeah, we made a few Danny White comments here and there in the time since you've been on, just to help keep things going. So
I appreciate that. Much
yeah,
appreciated.
You're welcome. Yeah, Joe, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Excited for an excellent episode tonight, listener. We got a lot of great things in store for you, so buckle up. It's going to be a good one.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and jump into latest news. I didn't have anything football-wise. Did you guys have any latest news since Sunday when we recorded for football?
It's all DGG watch, man.
Yeah. So is there any updates on that?
Oh, not that I've seen, other than Ohio State offered one of his best friends on the team, and there were some doomsayers saying that might have flipped the balance back to Ohio State. Apparently it happened in timing with the dead period where Tennessee can offer him, but they can't bring him on campus. And whatever I was reading was like, it'll look like what it is. We're taking your buddy, which I don't care at all about. Just get him in the boat, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
The other thing, I should have mentioned this to y'all in the pregame, but have you seen this NCAA commissioner's decision that they're going to give age-based eligibility?
No.
So what they've decided is you have 5 years and that's it. So it's basically the end of red shirts, the end of medical red shirts, or at least that's the proposal that they've brought out and said, this is how we're going to do it. You come in at college at 18 or whatever, you got 5 years and you're done. Okay. You dig into it a little bit more and, immediately as soon as it was announced, people are like, yeah, we're going to sue about that. So you're just kind of back to square one. Well, the courts uphold anything the NCAA does, right? So as I was reading through these threads talking about people, on what grounds people would sue, this, that, and the other, I noticed that even in the commissioner's announcement that it's going to be a strict 5 years, they had language of except in rare exceptions. And I was like, guys, you can't do it this way. If the message is hard and fast 5 years, no exceptions. Mm-hmm. As soon as you say there's going to be rare exceptions, everybody becomes the rare exception.
Yes.
The NCAA cannot get out of its own way. I would love for them to have trotted out even if it was the 5-year proposal. I don't know if it's good, bad, or otherwise, but if they would just say, this is our approach to fixing the sport, and we're going all cards in. We'll fight everything at the full level of resources we have available to. It would at least demonstrate some kind of leadership on their part.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just them giving away the ghost before they ever get a chance to have the fight. You know what I mean? They're just a ridiculous body. I don't know how the NCAA can survive, not just because, they can't ever win a lawsuit, unless it's Joey Aguilar. It's that they can't get out of the way of their own incompetence.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, no, that's super idiotic. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, do you like, obviously, I hear what you're saying, like you like that they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
in theory, if they had left that language out, you like that they're doing something and at least sticking to it and saying, hey, we're going to do this. I agree with that. However,
I like it in the way that, like, a kid who hasn't learned to drive and every time they've tried has driven into a tree, managed to maybe pull out of the driveway safely. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed to be a sign of life. So anyway.
Right. But my question is, do you guys agree with that? Like, if that was the rule, if they did that, do you guys like that? Because I like the idea. I do think that a legitimate medical red shirt is like a good thing. Like I never had a problem with a guy medically redshirting. If he tears his ACL, he gets another year. Like, I think that's fine. So do you guys like that or no?
I would take it, I guess, because it still attaches college athletics to a particular window of time in a human being's life.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if you're going to ask me, how about we go back to a hard rule on 4 years? We
Right.
leave the category of a medical exception, a rare exception. Maybe do away with just voluntary redshirt.
Yes.
Right. So
That's the thing. Like when you're a freshman in high school, if you're not good enough to play, you don't play. You don't get another year, and like college should be the same way. Like if you're still a student at the school and you haven't played 4 years, then you can play 4 years. Even if I think that could even include grad school. If you're in graduate school and let's say you weren't on the team your freshman year or whatever, then like yeah, you can play, but you have to be in school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're probably thinking about it more clearly and carefully than anybody involved in the NCAA is. And I didn't mean to sidebar us on this. Just my only point on it is, if it's anything positive, that's to be debated. But you can't say we're going to have a hard 5 years, except for rare exceptions. It's just the dumbest possible approach.
Yeah, ill-defined, or not even defined rare exceptions. What does that even mean?
Right.
Just classic. It's just more of the same. And I agree with your assessment. I don't know how this governing body can exist in perpetuity here. The writing is on the wall. It has to be, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got Trump and Congress kind of rattling sabers about doing something. I'll just come back to the point that is too obvious for it to ever actually come to pass in the real world. If Congress has to step in, the NCAA needs to be disbanded, at least their current leadership,
Right.
and a fresh set of eyes brought in to administer whatever the legislative bodies or the president creates. These people cannot do it. We have infinite, longer than my lifetime, amounts of evidence that they simply are unqualified for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well said.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
When we were welcoming you back to the show, Jeff, one of the things I was going to mention was that I handled your role in that I made the cold open go way longer than it was supposed to. And in true to form, we are 7 minutes into the show, and we've already gone off on a rabbit trail. Glad to have you back, buddy.
I love it. I love it. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's move on to basketball news. The only real basketball news is from the NBA, technically, which is that Nate Ament was drafted 13th overall by the Miami Heat, but the rights to his contract belong to the Milwaukee Bucks as part of the Giannis trade. So I know, none of us follow the NBA too closely anymore, but, the Bucks were looking to trade Giannis, and obviously a big deal because Giannis is one of the better players in the NBA in the last 10 years. Probably the best player in the NBA for at least a couple of those years. And so they traded him to the Heat. The Bucks sent Giannis and Bobby Portis, I think, to Miami. And the Heat sent like Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr., who played for UCLA a couple years ago on that good UCLA team. A few other guys that, aren't of note, but Nate Ament is now on the Heat because of that trade. So how do we feel, Jeff? I'm going to direct this at you just because you know the most about the NBA, but how do we feel about his fit in Milwaukee?
Man, I don't anymore. I wish I did. The NBA draft used to be like stuff I would game plan for and prep for. The only thing I know is that it came across my Twitter feed, and Tyler Hero has basically become Millie Bobby Brown. I don't know if you've looked at his most recent pictures, but like he's slowly becoming her physically. That's the only comment I have because I've just been so checked out on the NBA for so long.
Well, I mean, he did play at Kentucky, so that checks out.
That's fair.
Let me, if I can be permitted to derail us for just a minute here.
Please.
This is related to Nate Ament's draft, but it's something that I've been thinking about for a while now, and I would love to get you guys' opinion on it. We talk a lot about players who get drafted, where are they getting drafted, what team are they going to. We do this for the NFL, we do it for the NBA, we do it, and we do it for the MLB. My question for you guys is, where does a player getting drafted kind of rank for you in determining the overall success of a collegiate program? So to kind of put teeth on that, if you're watching a Saturday college football game you're going to see commentators are going to make a big deal about, Georgia had 7 guys go to the NFL last year. Alabama had 10 guys go to the NFL last year, and so it is used as a kind of barometer or measuring stick against a program to judge how successful it is. And so I have my own thoughts on it. I'll share. But what do you guys think? Is the number of players that are consistently kind of going pro, is that a legitimate measure of the overall, health and wealth of a collegiate program?
You want to go first, Mac?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I think it's an important factor. I don't know that it reflects the program as a whole as much as it does like the coaching staff. So what I would say is like, when you like Georgia's kind of the best example because they've had so many guys go to the NFL every single year in the last however many years. Like I think the amount of guys that come from Georgia and play in the NFL reflects really well on Kirby Smart and all of his staff's ability to develop players. And so I do think it lends itself to a college program is going to continue to get better recruits if they have the data to back up the fact they say like, hey, we put this many guys in the NFL because we're really great at development and because we're really great at this and really great at that. I do think it helps in that matter. I don't know how much it reflects though totally on the entire program because if Kirby Smart leaves tomorrow, is the next coach going to have as much success putting guys in the NFL? I don't know. Probably not. So I do think it's important, but I think it's more like short-term important, like while you're under a certain staff, than it is like long-term, like how good is this program traditionally?
So I'm going to go at it from a little bit different angle. In terms of player development, talent, disposition, and coaching staff are the 3 big slices of the pie chart, right? Mm-hmm. So I think talent and disposition are much more important than coaching. And in fact, I would actually point to the same program that Mac pointed to illustrate my point. I don't think Kirby Smart's a very good coach. I don't know what he does to bring people up in an X's and O fashion that isn't broadly replicable by most anybody getting paid at that level to be a head coach. I think that Kirby Smart's success is largely a product of finding incredible talent in his backyard, being right outside of Atlanta and being able to feed off Atlanta. So I think talent is the most important. Then I think the person's disposition. Are they willing to work hard, take instruction, maximize their physical giftedness from the Lord? So I don't, I tend to think of both getting to college and getting to the pros as largely a product of God-given ability, because both of those are systems that have tremendous amounts of money dumped into identifying talent. And they're incredibly accommodating to talent, right? If you're an idiot, you get another chance. If you're an idiot, you get a second or third chance, as long as the talent's there. So they're a talent identification vacuum is what both of those systems do. So with that said, does it matter if a coach or a program is putting people in the pros? Yes, at a rhetorical and optical level. Because I think for whatever reason, a lot of kids are like, I want to get to become a professional athlete. The best indicator I have on that is how many this program has put in the pros. I don't know that there's a strong tie. Was Grant Williams better because he was coached by Rick Barnes? Probably, for sure. Admiral Schofield. But I think if we could kind of put every name that we believe that about, Rick Barnes, I would have said the Villanova coach, Jay Wright, Tom Izzo. I think those guys actually develop players really well, and they develop men really well. In the college game, Signetti seems to have some ability on that front. I would say Heupel does, and his lack of pro success maybe is the inverse of my argument, in that I think guys who maybe don't have as much God-given talent as is played out in the NFL look really good in his system. And so he has kind of this reverse version of it. But if you take everybody in college. I just don't think that there's a ton of them who actually make players better than the replacement coach that if he went to a different program. Maybe Patino's in there now. So anyway, my point being, I think talent matters more. I think disposition of the person matters more. And I think that the only way it really matters for a program is rhetorically. That seems to be the most obvious way to improve your chances of getting to the pros. Although,
Sorry about that, listener. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties. Hopefully, this comes together in a way that makes sense to you. But Jeff, go ahead and I guess finish up or summarize what you were saying.
yeah, I'll try to summarize. That was pretty long-winded. Talent matters more than anything else. I don't think Kirby Smart's doing a lot to elevate people. The NCAA and NBA are going to find talent and give it lots of opportunities to blossom. At the end of the day, what the number of people you put in the pros matters for is for recruits who sort of see it as a simplistic way to evaluate their own likelihood of making it to the pros.
So let me kind of come at this with the reason why it's been on my brain. You know, over the years, I've heard lots of people use this particular metric as a way, I think, to sort of artificially prop up programs that actually are not very good.
Like Georgia.
Well, yeah, I mean, Georgia's got enough national championships that, you know, they don't need this. But, you're watching bowl season, right? And, you're watching the, Fiesta Bowl or, the Tax Slayer Bowl or whatever. And, they'll come on and say, yeah, they got two guys going to the NFL, going pro or whatever. And, it always seems to me like that's supposed to, what they're trying to do is kind of make you think this is a really great, effective program because they've got guys who are going pro. And I've always kind of, I kind of agree with what you were saying, Jeff, where, if a guy's going pro, it's because he's super talented. And you can have super talented guys on bad teams. You can have super talented guys on bad programs. And, I've always found it to be sort of an artificial and lackluster sign of success or collegiate program health. And so, and that may be me being too cynical, but I was curious for your thoughts, and sounds like we all agree.
I think Tennessee fans have a pretty ready illustration, right? You think about Bryce Brown. You remember how excited we were when Lane Kiffin brought him in at the 11th hour as a recruit, did nothing. He didn't stay at Tennessee for a full year, right?
He was there for one season. He didn't play all the games, though.
Okay. Then he goes into the league because, again, the league will bring talent in and give it a ton of different chances. And he has a nothing career up until just 1 year out of the blue with the Eagles. He has a really important year. And then, it's over and done with after that. So it's about talent. It's about talent and the person after that, the person being willing to work hard to maximize basically their physicality and their want to. And then coaching can maybe add a few polishes outside of, a few notable coaches out there. Like the best of the class, basically.
Well, there's another Tennessee example here, right? Who was a better quarterback, Peyton Manning or Martin, right? And like that question is obviously answerable. Peyton goes on to the NFL and has an incredible career, but Martin's the one who comes away with the championship. So which program, we say it feels like 98. Not it feels like 97, or 96 or whatever. So like when you're measuring like how successful was the program this year, for me, the litmus test is championships, right? Like when you're talking about like, did we have a good year or not, that's a staggered thing, right? Like a championship may not be a realistic expectation this year, but maybe it's making a playoff, right? Now that we have a playoff system, or, maybe it's making a bowl game because we haven't been to a bowl game in 25 years. I don't know where your program's at, but like those are the kinds of things that I measure success of a program by year to year, not how many guys did we send forward? I just, to me, that stat doesn't hold a lot of weight with me when you're talking about like overall success of a program.
Well, and Mac, I hate to kind of dominate this with Jack, but I mean with Joe, but the point here, I know I sound like a bitter Vols fan when I'm talking about Georgia. I think Nick Saban is a really good coach and got a lot of talent out of Alabama and eventually developed it into a recruiting pipeline. I don't think Kirby Smart is that. I think Kirby Smart steps out, can have the pick of the litter talent wise, and then it eventually culminates in some success that lets him be pretty successful outside of that. So I guess the thing I would just say, Joe, is that even to the point about T. Martin and Peyton, yeah, championships matter, but championships are a product of talent. And I just can't get away from talent matters much more than all of it. The one thing I would just kind of caveat that with is on the field success matters infinitely more to me, because now that all the pro programs hate my guts, I'm not really going to track these guys from here on out. So all I really care about is if we had success on the field while they were here.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about it is, like, I guess I think that the draft numbers, and I think more specifically having guys drafted really early in the first round, I think there's a difference in just like the overall number of guys drafted and like who was drafted early. Like if you have the number one overall draft pick in any sport, that's a big deal, And so I think that carries some weight. Now I'm not trying to say that guy's talent is less important than that's a less important reason why he was drafted. Like he probably could have been drafted number one overall from a lot of different programs. But
that would be
I
true
do
for
think
Peyton,
that
right? Peyton goes
right,
basically any major program, and he's going to be a stud.
right. What I would say though is I do think that your career matters more than your draft status. So, like, the reason why Peyton, like you were talking about him compared to T. Martin, Joe, the reason why Peyton is held in such high regard is because of how good his NFL career was. Like, he was great at Tennessee, but like if Peyton Manning would have had the same career at Tennessee, got drafted by the Colts, and then fizzled out in a couple years and never had a good career, Tennessee fans wouldn't hold him in as high of regard as they do. It's because of how good he was for so long in the NFL that he's considered the greatest quarterback that's ever come through Tennessee. But in reality, like if his career had sucked in the NFL, people probably would hold T. Martin at a higher level of reverence than they do Peyton Manning. Not that we would hate Peyton Manning. I mean, he still has a lot of records, so it's not like we wouldn't be talking about or wouldn't be valuing him. But you wouldn't see every single jersey in the stadium number 16 if Peyton hadn't had such an elite level career in the NFL. So I do think their career matters more than their draft status, is what I'm saying.
Can I push back on that just a little bit?
Sure, please.
So like let's take Condridge Holloway as like he's too far back. So we'll start with the year after Condridge Holloway leaves. Who do you think the second greatest Tennessee quarterback is?
Behind Peyton Manning?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like Heath Schuler.
Okay, I think Schuler's definitely in that list. Who else?
I mean, I would put Casey Clausen up there. I would put, honestly,
Probably
like,
Dobbs.
Hendon Hooker, I would put above Dobbs, but that's maybe a hot take. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's the list. And I think that for most people my age down to y'all's, it's probably Casey Clausen.
Mm-hmm.
And Casey's beloved.
Right.
And Casey had no NFL career.
Right.
And so I maybe if career matters, well, I mean, think about Hendon. Hendon had, in effect, one great year and most of a really good year the year before. Schuler was okay. Schuler didn't do much in the NFL. I really think if career is the criteria, it's your career in college more than I think Peyton would still be beloved as our greatest quarterback if he hadn't had the Colts run. I think we would still see him as set apart from the rest of that list.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I think Casey Clausen benefits from being after Peyton Manning. I think if Casey Clausen's career, in theory, if you just picked it up and dropped it at some point in the early '90s or the '80s or something, I think that he would be some. I mean, I don't even know that I could name a quarterback before Peyton Manning other than Condra Holloway and Heath Schuler. Like I don't even know if I could think of one before Peyton Manning.
I
So
still
it's
think
like
that's basically the list, though, man. I mean, you do have to get into like a pre-modern form of football, so we've got to play with what we have. Dobbs has had probably the longest NFL career after that, not high level, but Dobbs has had the lengthiest.
Tyler Bray actually may be the
Oh
lengthiest. I
yeah,
don't know, but
yeah,
he didn't play much. But if you're counting guys who didn't really play but were on teams, Tyler Bray is probably had a longer career than Josh Dobbs.
yeah. But I think that serves my point that the pro career isn't as important, right?
Well, we don't hold Tyler Bray in high regard though.
I mean, he played really well for us in college and then played a long time in the NFL. So if he doesn't count, I still think that bolsters my argument that, like, if you have a great career at Tennessee, that's the weightiest.
Do you think that if Peyton Manning wasn't the superstar in the NFL that he became, do you still think that Tennessee fans would rank him above T. Martin, who won a championship?
Yes, I do think so because he did so much else positive for so long. I mean, like him coming back, announcing he was coming back for another season. My high school stopped what it was doing that day, and we all watched it on TV. He was huge. It was
It's
the biggest
amazing.
thing in the world at that time. Um, I, I, yeah, I don't know, man. I just think the affections are tied to on the field. So, what's that Georgia guy? Is Stetson Bennett?
From from most recent, the guy that
Yeah,
that's Stetson Bennett. Yeah,
Stetson Bennett is going to be beloved long after he dies at Georgia, and it has nothing to do with anything he would do in the pros.
yeah, but he's not held in as high regard as like Matt Stafford, even though he won a championship.
You don't think that their intensity of affection is higher for Stetson?
No, I think Matthew Stafford is Georgia's best quarterback, and his career at the SEC was great, but it just wasn't. He didn't win a championship. Like he wasn't to the level of success, specifically in college, that Stetson Bennett was. But it's because his pro career was so long and so good that he's held in such high regard.
Look, and this is all anecdotal, and I don't know a lot of Georgia fans, but the Georgia fans I know are much more affectionate towards Stetson Bennett. I don't think I've ever even heard my Georgia fans mention Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I don't know. Every Georgia fan I know loves Matt Stafford.
Yeah. Yeah. Just different, I guess, different anecdotes.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, interesting point, Joe. Did you have anything else to add to that? Since it's your question.
Well, just for me as a Tennessee fan, that you were going, circling all the way back around to Nate Ament and how he does in the draft. We ask these questions. I think they're good questions. We talk about our guys as they move on. Obviously, VFLs, we wish them the best, right? We want guys who come through our program to be successful. All that, needs not be mentioned, but I'll qualify with all of that being said. I just, I find myself kind of aligning with what Jeff is saying here that, it just doesn't matter as much to me what they go on to do when I'm thinking about, the success of our program and, its overall health, things of this nature in a way. And I'm not accusing anybody in our circle of doing this, but like when I watch national media, like they seem to make a big deal about that, and I've never really understood why. Like why is that such an important metric when measuring the overall success of a program? Because it doesn't just rank that high with me personally. So that was my only point.
It seems cheap and easy. It's really easy to quantify. It's the goal. Everybody wants to make money playing sports.
Sure.
I think it's just cheap and easy.
Yeah, good discussion. Getting into kind of more of the meat of our stuff here, we're going to do a Tennessee game day draft. This is what we got coming up next. So each person is going to draft one of the following criteria. You're going to draft an opponent that Tennessee's playing in this ideal game day. It's just picking a team, picking a school. You're not necessarily picking a specific year or anything like that. So just pick an opponent, pick a jersey combination for Tennessee to wear. So that's jersey and pants. Pick a game day tradition. And then the last thing is an atmosphere. So this is a specific game in Tennessee history that you'll build, for your atmosphere. It's based solely on the environment in that game. So this will be a specific year, specific opponent. But the result of the game is not factored into the atmosphere itself, if that makes sense for the listener. So we're going to do opponent, jersey combo, game day tradition, and atmosphere. These are the 4 criteria. The draft order, which was randomly chosen, is Joe, and then Jeff, and then myself, and this will be a snake draft. So does anybody have any questions before we start?
When we get to jerseys, I do have one question. I don't think it'll change anything. I just want to make sure I'm playing by the rules.
Well, I should also say, this is like a draft, right? So you could take, like Joe could take any of these 4 things with his number 1 overall pick. He doesn't have to pick, like, we're not doing a round of opponent, a round of, it's like you can pick one of any of these things across the board. So if you have a question, you should ask it now, is what I'm saying.
I misunderstood the project. So I don't pay a ton of attention to uniforms, and I'm a traditionalist. And so if somebody picks uniform, I think the default is going to be just the home jerseys. Has Tennessee ever worn their road jerseys in a home game, or is that off the limits?
No, this is completely theoretical. So the jersey options realistically are, pants is orange, white, gray, or black. That's pretty much all they've ever worn. The jersey is orange, white, gray, or black. That's, again, pretty much all they've ever worn. So that's really those are the options. And it's any combination worn in this theoretical game. So it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pick it, but you could do like a smoky gray top and orange pants.
You could. You would.
In theory, you could.
You'd be immediately jettisoned from the podcast, but you could.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In theory, you could. Yeah.
All right. With the number 1 overall pick in the first ever volatile perfect game day draft, give me Alabama as my opponent.
And again, we're picking from any of these criteria, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Joe, just to not blow past your pick too quick, but it's Alabama or Florida for me, right? And I probably slightly hate Florida a little bit more because of my age. Alabama I think is the 1 or 1A of.
Yeah. So I kind of thought about it in 2 different ways. I thought, who's the most hated team on our schedule, year in and year out. And then I thought about Vandy as a, in-state rival. But I just couldn't do it. I couldn't choose little brother from Nashville. So I take Alabama as the number 1 overall pick.
Okay. So again, I think I understand the project here.
You can now pick an opponent, a jersey, like a uniform combination, a tradition, or an atmosphere. You can pick any of those things.
Here, let me help you. Let me help you understand this. If you take a uniform combination as your first pick in the draft, that's like taking a running back round 1 overall in a fantasy draft.
Right. Back when I played fantasy, that was actually what you did.
That's me too. That's how it used to be.
Yeah. So guys, I think now that it's completely freeform, the most essential, enjoyable aspect of a Tennessee home game experience is the tradition of singing Rocky Top in the stands.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
How could you even Alabama, I don't want to beat up on you, Joe, but we have to sing Rocky Top in the stands or it's not the thing.
Yep. That's a great pick. That's what I had as my first overall pick if it wasn't taken. So
okay.
All right, so I'm up next. I'm going to go ahead. So I get back-to-back picks here because I'm the last pick of the first round, first pick of the second round. This is a snake draft.
Jeez.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Florida as my opponent since you didn't. So I'll take Florida, and then I'm going to go with running through the T as my.
Dang it, Mag! Dang it!
I think that's actually more important than Florida.
Yeah, it may be. I don't know. I just wanted to put Florida in the first round because I hate them. So
yeah, they suck. So can you help me understand why you went in that order? Like it was just hatred. You thought they were first round worthy of hatred?
Well, I mean, yeah, it didn't really matter because I have back-to-back picks, but it was just more for, just because I hate Florida, so I wanted to snatch them off the board for. I mean, I was going to get them either in that pick or the next one, so I just took them. But
Okay. So I think
you're back up, yeah.
Yeah, I think opponent's probably the next most important thing to me, and y'all have taken the top two, so I'm going to go with Georgia.
Yeah, that was the third option. Joe, I was shocked to hear you say Vanderbilt was even on your list. To me, it was Bama, Georgia, Florida, and those were the only options in my mind.
Yeah, I mean Georgia is kind of a recency bias, though, isn't it? Long term, isn't Vanderbilt?
Yeah, but Vanderbilt's never been good. So, like in the ideal scenario, okay, if you pick Vanderbilt, sure, Tennessee fans might hate Vanderbilt more than Georgia, maybe, but like for the ideal atmosphere, like Vanderbilt's never going to draw as big of a like intense crowd as Georgia will.
Sure. No, that's a fair point. Fair point. I took Bama anyway, so.
Yeah.
All right, I'm back on the clock. Okay, Mac, you took Rocky Top.
Yeah, and Florida.
No, I took Rocky Top in Georgia.
Sorry.
You took
Running Through the T.
You took Running Through the T. So you both have your atmosphere already, so I can save that for my last pick because you're not picking again. So let me go. All right, I guess I'll go atmosphere next. And I will take the thriller of a game, 2022 Tennessee versus Alabama.
Yep, good choice.
I hate to take it from you, Mac, because I know you were there. I know it's got a special place in your heart.
That's probably the best atmosphere. I think there's some ones in contention, which are the other ones on my list. But
all right, so you're back up, Joe. You get to pick.
That's right. Right. I get to go again. All right, I'm gonna go jersey combo because this is the thing I've been most excited about. So I've got a very specific jersey combo pick, which I'm gonna try to put in the chat so you guys can see it. I don't know if it's gonna work for me, but I'm taking the 1979 Tennessee home jersey. This is an orange top, white pants, stripes running down the sides. It's got the double armband white with the orange stripe running through the middle, and those fat shoulder pads, baby. Give it to me. I love it. Ooh, I dig it.
The guy that's simping for Smoky Grays all the time just picked orange and white. Like, I want that to be known on the podcast. The only person who simps for Smoky Gray just took the actual best jersey combination, which is orange tops, white bottoms. Yeah, that was the best chick, Joe, and it is the best jersey combination. Smoky Grays are stupid. All right, go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, it is the pick. When you were like 1979, I was
1979.
But I didn't take it because I thought Joe would pick Smoky Gray because why would he pick Smoky Gray? He always simps over him.
Yeah. So I'm a traditionalist on jersey combinations, but I'm going to try to go outside of the box on this because I kind of dig the look of the thing. So I also. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to hold off. I'm going to leave jersey on the table, and I'm going to tell you the atmosphere. And I've taken some notes.
To be clear, the way I set this up is Joe took orange top, white bottom. You can't pick like another year orange top, white bottom. Orange and white is off the table. Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So here's the atmosphere I'm going to pick. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The 2004 Tennessee-Florida game at Neyland, where James Wilhoit kicked the game-winning field goal. And I want to set that up if it's not super familiar to y'all. So the Vols are ranked number 13. This is Florida at 11. They've got a new head coach in Urban Meyer. At that point, when we won, it was 2 straight victories over the Gators in a row. And that game was completely back and forth. And I was there, so it's particularly rich for me on that. But remember that their quarterback was Chris Leak. And they scored first with Chris Leak. We came back and scored again. Basically, you get down to the end of the game. Will Hoyt misses an extra point. So we're down by 1. There's a altercation between Dallas Baker for Florida and Jonathan Wade for Tennessee. There's a personal foul, and it basically gives us room to catch a punt in really good field goal position. So then Eric Ainge hits Jason Swain for a 13-yard touchdown. Will Hoyt doesn't, do what they need to do on the extra point. Florida did eventually have one final chance, but they couldn't convert. So you're down in the stadium to 6 seconds remaining. The guy who's just missed, the last time he kicked the ball, he missed an extra point, the easiest kick in the game. And he drills a 50-yarder to win the ball game. And the stadium goes completely quiet once he kicks the ball. And I think that's still the highest ever recorded attendance in Neyland. So you've got Neyland at max capacity. It's dead quiet. And then when that ball goes through the uprights, it explodes in a way that I'll probably never hear again in my lifetime. And so that's my atmosphere.
Excellent.
Nice.
Way to set it up, buddy.
Well, for my final 2 picks, I'm going to go ahead and just take the Stormtroopers, all white, because that is the second best jersey combination. So I'm doing Stormtroopers, all white. And then for my atmosphere, I'm going to take the 2015 Oklahoma game. Obviously, that game is huge in the memory of Vols fans in terms of the atmosphere. Baker Mayfield's quoted as saying like it was the most hostile game he's ever played in, and he said that like when he was like years in the NFL. So it was still on his mind. There's a story of like when their center was going to put his hand on the ball to snap it. The ball, like the stadium was so loud that the ball was rolling because the sound of the noise was moving the football. Everyone, like Tennessee broke the highest recorded sound barrier in that game. That was like, it was like louder than like a jet engine or whatever. So yeah, I'll take the 2015 Oklahoma game just because it was like loud and crazy. So that's what I'm taking.
Great pick.
Yeah. I'm okay with the dregs of the uniform pile. I kind of want to take the road jerseys just because I like the traditional look, but to go outside the box, give me the orange on orange with the white hats.
Mm-hmm. That is the third best option.
Something about them orange britches.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. For the last pick, you got to take a tradition here.
I do, and I'm really struggling because there's a couple that I want to take, so I have to make a choice here. Obviously, the best ones are off the board. Well done, boys. Okay, I'm going to take. Let me tell you what I'm not taking. I was really strongly considering the Vol Walk. I really do like that tradition. I think it's a good tradition. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of camaraderie that's built between the players and the fans. It's all about sort of regionalism, and it gets everybody hyped before the game. So
everyone does it though. So that's like, yeah, I think that's smart to not take it.
Yeah, so I do like it. But that's not
although apparently, did y'all hear that on one of the more recent VolQuest podcast that Lane Kiffin wanted to shut it down?
Dude,
yeah, he wanted to shut down the Vol Walk, and he wanted to shut down General Neyland's Maxims.
Okay, so we're getting to my pick, but stop giving me reasons to hate this man. I hate this man. Yeah. I want him to lose every football game he ever coaches. I can't stand this guy. And now I have just another reason for me to say Lane Kiffin can find the tallest pile of rocks and start to kick them repeatedly. All right. So, Jeff, Mac, you got to my tradition. I'm going to take Neyland's Maxims read before every game. We discussed this on the last episode for our Rocky Top Roots. We got a deep dive on the general himself. Made me appreciate him so much more. And his Maxims still recited before every football game. There were 38 total, but we read just the top 7. It's a great tradition. It's unique to us. harkens
Yep.
us back to better years. I'm gonna take
Good
Neyland's
choice. Good choice. Good choice. So I just want to make a quick note. I'll run through everything everyone's picked, and then we're going to have our listeners vote on who they think had the best draft. And Nick will also get a vote in that since he's not here. But a couple things I was surprised we didn't see. 98 Florida. I'm surprised you didn't take 98 Florida, Jeff, over 04 Florida. I've always
was
felt
there.
like, okay, I've always thought 98 Florida was more like
Yeah.
amplified than 04 Florida, but I didn't live either in person, so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just off of like what I've heard people say.
Yeah. Look,
do you-
it could have been even more incredible. I just know that that's like a seared in the moment memory. And again, I do have the bonus of the highest recorded attendance, right? So like there were more of us in there hanging on every rotation of that ball.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Another tradition that I was surprised that we didn't hear was the circle drill. I think all three of the traditions that we chose were better than circle drill, but circle drill is just a unique Tennessee one. So that was one that I thought could go off the board. Obviously, I'm shocked that the Smoky Grays didn't go on the jerseys. I'm still a little butthurt about that.
Can I jump in here on this? So
Yeah.
the two that I have kind of queued up that I didn't,
Yeah.
actually more than the circle drill.
Yeah.
I mean, when y'all left Rocky Top hanging, I just think that's essential. I don't think you can have.
Don't say y'all. Joe picked number 1 overall
Sure.
Alabama and left Rocky Top.
Yeah. When Rocky Top was left for me, that had to be. But the tradition that hasn't been named that I love the most, I've actually never participated in, but it's the Vol Navy.
Yeah, that's true.
That was on my short. Vol Navy was on my short list too.
Yeah, I mean, there just aren't a lot of universities near a river, and we just. Do y'all know the story of how that thing started?
Well, give us like the super simplified, not in depth version, because I think it will be covered at some point in Rocky Top Roots.
Yeah. So the game announcer, I think it was George Mooney, got tired of fighting traffic. And this had to be, I'm not sure when he was there, but I'm assuming this is like the 70s. And so he got tired of fighting the traffic. He took a little John boat down. There wasn't even a dock. So he tied his boat to a tree and kind of like cut his way through the riverbank foliage to get up to the stadium. And eventually they just start, like it becomes a snowball. They start putting in docks, they expand the docks, they build a huge apparatus around it. But it was just the play-by-play guy being like, how do I get to the stadium on game day? I think it's a super cool story.
That is super cool.
That's amazing.
Super cool. Yeah. No, great draft, guys. So let me run through what everyone got.
No, sorry. The other thing I wanted to say is that number 2 on my list was a Smoky Gray. I love let me see, I've got my notes here somewhere. The 2024 Volunteer State Smoky Gray that had Tennessee across the front and the TriStar on the shoulder. I have deep affections for that jersey. I have no idea what our winning record was. I think maybe we played Chattanooga in them. But I love that look. It's so, it's just so Tennessee. Not University of, but it's so embedded in the state.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to listen, Jeff, to our podcast regarding the logo history?
No,
yeah, it shows because ironically, Nick mentioned the TriStar specifically on the uniforms as something that he did not feel like was a good logo that the universities embraced.
He's wrong. It looked awesome
because it's more of a governmental like thing. It's not necessarily tradition of the university. I don't want to speak for him. I'll let him defend himself when he gets back next week.
No defense. You don't have to wait for that.
I feel pretty convinced. He had a good argument. I felt kind of convinced. Like, yeah, the TriStar is more of like the state government stuff like thing, and I think there's a lot of other logos that are like a lot better than that one. So I would love to see Tennessee go away from it.
Oh yeah, not me. I wish that was the default Smoky Gray. The Smoky Gray is an alternative jersey, and I'm all about regionalism. The TriStar isn't state government. It's us as Tennesseans. We identify with that the same way Texas does with the Lone Star. That's not like a government of Texas thing. And again, that big Tennessee splashed across the chest, that was a dope look.
I love the Smoky Grays.
Smoky Grays are terrible.
Can't believe nobody picked them.
Oh my gosh, you're sick, Joe. My goodness. The Blacks are better than the Grays. If I had to pick an alternate, the Blacks are way better than the Grays.
That's not true.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know if
definitely
the
true.
Blacks are better than the TriStar Grays. I love the only Grays I really dislike, and I hate it because it's historic, but with the Joe Milton year that was like a throwback to Condridge with the orange on the shoulder.
Yeah, those were
I just didn't
terrible.
care for those at all.
Those are the ones I thought you were talking about at first.
Oh no.
So here's our picks wrapped up.
You're right, Nate Duncan.
Joe walked away with Alabama, 2022 Alabama for the atmosphere, orange and white. So those first three picks are basically just 2022 Alabama, and then the last pick is Neyland's Maxims. So yep, that's a great set of things. I'll do them one more time. Just so Alabama, 2022 Bama, orange and white, and then Neyland's Maxims. Jeff has Rocky Top as his tradition, Georgia as his opponent, 04 Florida as the atmosphere, and then orange on orange, tops and bottoms. And then Mac, I have Florida as the opponent, running to the T, the Stormtrooper All Whites, and 2015 Oklahoma. So, listener, let us know in the comments on YouTube, just which person you think had the best draft overall, who you think won that draft, and we'll, let that person have their time to shine next week when we record, and let them, we'll all sing their praises as they won the draft. So
maybe I'll just sing Rocky Top.
That's true. We could do that too. Questions on college football. We'll move on to our next segment here. The question for tonight is, what is the most valuable thing in college football? And so thing is obviously pretty broad. I'll give you some examples. But basically the examples for this, listener, kind of what we're thinking of is like, what is going to help? What's going to be the most value to your program? Is it something like an elite coach, an elite quarterback, elite NIL resources? What is the most valuable thing that a program could have right now to, make their program elite? That's kind of the thought. And we don't if somebody takes, this is not a draft, so we can say the same thing. But Jeff, why don't you kick us off since you had to pick second in the draft there?
This may be unfair, but it seems to me like the most important thing you can have, and anybody who's heard me gripe about Danny White over the episodes of this podcast will guess I was going to go here, but isn't the most important thing a diehard, loyal fan base who bleeds?
I think that's very important.
That's where your fundraising comes from. It's where your appeal on social media comes from. It's where your game day atmosphere comes from. It should be a boon to your talent supply in that, people are going to encourage prospects to go play at that program. It just seems to me like that's the most important thing. Again, I'm probably a little biased, but that's what I think is most important.
Yeah. Joe?
Well, that's a tough act to follow. It's hard to argue against that point, but just for the sake of argument, I think that success breeds success, right? So, and you're talking about how do you get like a snowball of talent and NIL money, and how do you build? You gotta win a championship, and in order to win a championship, you have to have an elite quarterback. I think, that the way the game is played now, you're just not going to be successful if you don't have, a top 5 first round overall quarterback on your team, and in order to breed success in your program long term, you got to win. You got to put W's up on the board. You got to get championships. An elite quarterback, especially if you can get a guy who's really good young. So I'm taking an elite quarterback. I'm picking a guy who can take you at least back to back. That would absolutely put you in a position to create long-term success even after that guy leaves. So he could totally change a franchise, totally change a collegiate program. So
that doesn't bode well for the Josh Heupel era of Tennessee football.
No, it does not.
So yeah, my answer. I'm surprised you didn't say this, Jeff, because when we were having our conversation earlier, well, I shouldn't say I'm surprised you didn't say this because your answer is very much so what I would expect from you, in a good way. You've been very clear about how lucky Danny White, Josh Heupel, all the players play at Tennessee get to be to play because of the support of the fan base. So I shouldn't say I'm surprised in that sense. I think it's a good answer. And Joe, your answer I do agree with, but I'm coming at it from I guess a little bit broader view, which encompasses what you said. And so I think especially based on our conversation earlier, talking about Jeff, your argument for why you think Kirby Smart's not actually going to coach. I think the most important thing for a program, the most valuable thing is the recruiting pipeline, the recruiting base. I think if you have access to all of the best talent, then you will be able to get the elite quarterback that Joe mentioned. And the more you're bringing in elite talent, the more that you're going to be able to gather the support of fans, gather their money, gather their all of those things. So to me, in theory, if we could take the University of Tennessee and put all of the talent in Atlanta around Knoxville, I think that would make Tennessee more successful overnight quicker than one good quarterback or even more passionate fans. So that would be my argument. I think just having the best players and being able to access them easily for a long period of time is really the most valuable thing that a program can have. That's my argument.
So when you say pipeline, I guess I tend to think of that as relationships a coaching staff has built with certain high school coaches and influencers in a given area. So like Fulmer had a pipeline in California. Fulmer had a pipeline in North Carolina. Is that different in your conception than the recruiting base that's close at hand in home?
Yeah, I think you can differentiate those two things. Yes, I think those two things can be defined differently. I guess I was kind of going with recruiting as a whole in the sense that like I was including the recruiting base, the talent you have access to locally, but also like just recruiting across the country. Like how good are you at recruiting? I guess is what I'm saying. Like I think recruiting is still the most important thing, even in the NIL era. Like yeah, it's great you have a lot of NIL money, but if you don't spend it on the right guys, it doesn't matter. So to me, recruiting is still the most important thing, whether it's high school talent or transfer portal talent. Like getting the right guys on campus, the most talented guys on campus is the most important thing, I think.
Yeah, hard to argue with that.
So I don't want to. Well, maybe I do want to argue just because
No, please.
Because it'll be fun here, but if you can conceive of an area that has a rich population base to draw talent from, it's hard to think of that without a program sort of chicken and egg developing right alongside of it, right?
Yeah.
But if you, if the University of Georgia, please Lord, let this happen, stopped, and Georgia Tech and who else, Kennesaw State and Georgia Southern are led, I guess Georgia Tech would pick would pick up and just sort of benefit from that. But I still think if you have a huge recruiting base and nobody in town cares about the program, that doesn't necessarily mean they're coming to your school, right? So you just plunk a school down in the middle of an area. Georgia can walk out their back door, but Georgia also has deep roots in the area. So this is why I get that it's a chicken and egg problem. I just think that you would have to have people who are like, hey, man, have you thought about playing for the hometown school?
Yeah.
Or somebody like Texas comes and takes them away and,
Yeah,
But isn't there a risk if you could have a diehard passionate fan base? Tennessee, obviously, I think we are the best at that. I'm biased, of course. But you can have a diehard passionate fan base. But if you don't succeed, doesn't that become jeopardized? Right? Like
Nebraska.
Yeah,
Dude,
right.
Get out of my head. That's what I was going to say. Like the best argument for Mac against me is Nebraska.
Right. Like there's there's a ton of examples like that, right? Where you had people who just bled the school colors, but they've been so irrelevant for so long because they haven't had any success that eventually that passionate fan base loses its passion, and that's just the way of it.
Well, even if they don't, it doesn't translate to it's not as valuable as having the best players at the end of the day. Because like Nebraska, I think hasn't lost their passion at all. And it's been how many years now? Obviously, if we fast forward 50 years and they're still bad, it's possible. But even if they never did, in theory, like if you don't have the best talent, then I guess in my mind, this is where I differentiate from Jeff. I think that having the best talent can raise your level of passion for the school. But like if you have all the passion for the school, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get better talent, is what I'm saying.
And that's a great argument. And again, Nebraska is the best example. But I will point out that when Joe talked about, his critique of the position, he said when you don't have success on the field. And so it is possible to have a lot of talent and not be successful on the field. Wait and see what happens to Texas Tech this year.
Yeah.
They're going to have a ton of talent. And they're going to have very little success. And the reason they're not going to have success, Joe, their stud quarterback, is going to sit out a year from football because even the NFL won't take him at this point. Yeah. And that is a program that has a passionate fan base and has a lot of money and has a very talent-rich community to draw from. And it's just not going to work out very well for them at all this year on the field.
Yeah, and I'll admit the weakness of my pick is that it's really short-sighted.
Yeah, it's temporary.
It's temporary. But I think that if you can string together, national championship level success with an elite quarterback, which is the only way you can in the modern era. I guess kind of what I'm putting all my chips on is that sort of skyrocketing your program from wherever it currently is to the top of the pile will bring all of the other things, will increase all of the, rising tide, rising all the other ships. And then the hope is that you can somehow sustain that with new talent and, with a newly invigorated, passionate fan base because we just won a national title. So, maybe that's pie in the sky. I'm sure there's plenty of arguments of like, well, this team went to a national championship and then they sucked for the next 25 years.
Nebraska, right? Tommy Frazier was the best quarterback in college football when he was there, and they won national championships, multiple, and then they suck. That's just an example. Joe, I actually agree with your idea. I just think that recruiting includes what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think you and I are really close, and actually recruiting is probably a better pick because I think it does include what I'm saying. It just also includes every other position as well.
Right, exactly.
Which is, that's nice. So yeah, that's probably a better pick. But yeah, I think just to frame it, we can move on. The question is, when you're looking at success long term, it's chicken and egg stuff, to borrow your analogy from earlier, Jeff, which is does immediate on the field success breed future success, or does passionate buy-in create on the field success?
And there's examples of both, I think. Yeah. I think there's examples of both, yeah.
Let me throw this in the hopper, and it goes again back to a VolQuest point that I thought was interesting from last week or so. They had a version of who's the best Tennessee quarterbacks, right? And Brent Hubbs made an interesting point to me. He said that recruiting Heath Shuler opened up the floodgate for all the quarterbacks who came left. And so I looked, and Condridge Holloway leaving in 74, we don't really have an all-time quarterback show back up on campus until Heath Shuler, who's there from 91 to 93. Then you get Peyton. Then you get Clausen. Then you go through the Eric Ainge years, Dobbs. T. Martin's there with Peyton at the same time.
Don't forget Jonathan Crompton.
Crompton, who was horrible until one good year with Lane Kiffin. But yeah, so again, how do you know which is the chicken and which is the egg? But Tennessee had a very committed fan base, weren't having a ton of on-field success. Getting Heath Shuler, if Brent Hubbs is right, gets them to Peyton Manning, T. Martin, gets them a championship, renews the vigor of the fan base, gets them Clausen, who's like knocking on the door. And those are, that's probably what most of us think of as the golden age of Tennessee football athletics.
So recruiting, Heath Shuler.
I do think
or a quarterback.
I do think quarterback stands out in a unique fashion. You're not
Sure.
wrong that
I agree with
it's
that.
part of the category of recruiting. But I'm just trying to, again, to Texas Tech, that whole roster is going to be high dollar talent, and they're not going to have a quarterback, and they're not going to have a good year.
Yeah, agreed.
Maybe. I mean, they could still win the Big 12. It depends on how you define a good year, I guess. I mean, I still think Texas Tech could win the Big 12 and then be in the college football playoff. So I mean, I would take that for my team. So like, I'm not on board with the idea of saying Texas Tech's not going to have a good year.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they. I mean, did they have any backup plan behind Sorsby?
Yeah, they had the guy that started a couple games from last year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they will win their conference.
I mean, the Big 12 sucks. Let's be honest. Like, it shouldn't be. They should be able to win the Big 12 without their starting quarterback. That's because it's. I mean, the Big 12 is a joke.
And so it'd be a first round playoff exit, which is what they got this year.
Right. But I would still take that for Tennessee right now.
I get on paper how that works for you rhetorically, but I don't think any Texas Tech fan base will think this year's team is comparable to last year's. They won't have anywhere like the enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, but isn't that also circumstantial just because of the way that Brendan Sorsby's thing went down? Like if he had torn his ACL in the first game, I don't think they would be as down as you're describing. I think it's just because of the circumstances. Like he kind of did it to himself.
Well, I do think you're right that if he tore his ACL, it would be different. But I think the actual difference will be in a fan base that last year watched a Texas Tech team that they could legitimately see could compete with the best teams in the country. And they won't have that enthusiasm because this year they're watching somebody at best beating up on weak sisters who they know has, last year they thought they went in the playoffs, thought we've got a fighting chance. This year they'll know. And I think that's a significant dampening on the enthusiasm of the fan base.
Yeah. That's fair. All right. Well, good discussion, guys. We're going to go ahead and jump into the most fun part of our show tonight, in our opinions, which is the Rocky Top Root segment. Listener, as you can probably tell, Nick is not here tonight, who usually heads that up. So Joe has stepped in his stead and is going to be covering the Rocky Top Roots. Joe, go ahead and tell them what we're talking about tonight, man.
Yeah. So tonight we are covering the enigmatic truth of being a Tennessee fan, which is, what is our fight song? What do we sing, right? We're going to be covering Rocky Top. We're going to be covering maybe the greatest tradition in Tennessee football, and it's somewhat ironic. I'm talking about Tennessee fight songs and didn't pick it in our draft, so that's kind of a major fail on my part.
The Smoky Grays either, man. Major fail.
We're talking tonight, Rocky Top. We're talking fight songs. So to introduce this topic, I wanted to just give a very quick intro to why do collegiate programs have fight songs? Where do they come from? And so about 100 years ago, a University of Michigan student named Louis Elbel, he was a sophomore at the University of Michigan, was inspired by a particular game that Michigan played in Chicago on Thanksgiving Day, 1898, and decided to write the song "The Victors," which is arguably one of the most famous fight songs in all of college sports. And it is not the first fight song ever written, but it definitely is the fight song that popularized this tradition in collegiate sports. And so he wrote The Victors. It was immediately popular. There is a guy named William Studwell, actually, who has written several books on different songs and the way that the songs interact with their particular institution. So he's got a book on college fight songs. He's got a book on state songs. He has one on like circus music. It's just what the guy's interested in. He's written a lot of books about this topic. And so he says that this song, The Victors, is his personal favorite, though it's not his number one pick. We'll talk about that in a second. He says it's rousing, stunning, very proud. And from The Victors came just an onslaught of colleges following suit and creating their own fight songs. So they grow out of this tradition of singing on campus back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. That singing would have been mostly drinking songs and then military music. This is where the band comes in, where everything is sort of in step and in time. This was the kind of music that was just already inundated over college campuses all over the United States. And so that began the tradition. So Studwell again says, within the next decade or so, most of the great ones were written, talking about Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Georgia Tech, Ohio State, Illinois. By the end of World War II, it was pretty much over. There was a flurry of activity in the late 30s and early 40s. And there's just all kinds of incredible stories about how universities developed their fight songs. What did they take? What did they reject? And Yale. So this matters for us as Tennessee fans. There was a song that was offered to Yale. Bingo Ellie Yale, the Bulldog, was presented to Yale to be their fight song. But Yale University chose during this time period to stick with its classic that it had had since the early 1900s. That classic is called Down the Field. This is number 4 on Studwell's list of all-time great college football fight songs. And the songwriter that they rejected, if you're curious, was Cole Porter. They rejected Cole Porter in lieu of Down the Field, their classic. So most fight songs are written by students or faculty members, and I thought, Jeff, you would find this interesting. Studwell says in the opening bars of On Wisconsin, which he ranks 3rd in his all-time list, he hears the first act of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake.
Oh,
I don't know if that's true. I've never listened to it, but that's super interesting to me. Number 6 on his list, the Stein song, the University of Maine. It's a drinking song going back to the tradition. So fight songs, they come on the scene, again, kind of following suit from Michigan. And by the end of World War II, everybody's got one. It's sort of become part and parcel with collegiate sports and how they work. So that's where it comes from. But what about Tennessee? What about our fight song? So our fight song officially is titled. Anybody know?
I forgot.
Is Down the Field, actually,
Okay.
is the official our official fight song. It's also you'll also find it referenced as Here's to Old Tennessee. And our official fight song lyrics were written by Robert Clayton Red Matthews, Red in parentheses his nickname. Robert Clayton Red Matthews. He was an engineering professor, and he came to UT in the year 1907. He was not born in Tennessee, but he was a teacher there. And so he became known as, this is interesting, he became known as UT's first official cheerleader. So if you're wondering, the guy who wrote our official fight song was also our first official cheerleader because of his sideline antics. And he actually established acrobatic cheerleading at the university. In a 1973 issue of the Alum magazine, Matthews said the song was, quote, swiped from Vanderbilt, who got it from Yale's Down the Field. The song, the actual music of the song, was written by 2 Yale alumni, Caleb W. O'Connor and Stanley P. Friedman, and it's been used. Down the Field is, it's kind of like the way we think about Kleenex as like when you're asking for a tissue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a brand, but it's also every brand. Down the Field kind of functions this way. It's used in all kinds of high schools and lower colleges. Of course, we have it. It's Yale's. It's a really popular musical arrangement for fight songs. So Robert Matthews was a professor of mechanical engineering, as I already mentioned. He was a nationally prominent executive secretary of the Tau Beta Pi Society of Engineering, and he retired in 1949. And his cheerleading began at Monmouth High School in Monmouth, Illinois. In 1895, he led the Rooters from Monmouth at a stake track meet in Evanston. While a student at the University of Illinois, Matthews introduced cartwheels and handstands into his cheers, and he continued as a cheerleading instructor, and being an engineering professor in the department. And again, at UT, he became our first official cheerleader. So
This is horrible.
Joe,
Thank
was.
you for your work, but I hate everything you've said.
Yeah, what is happening?
Yeah, so I agree. I was a little. We'll get to Rocky Top. Don't worry.
Hold on, but can we just recount the catastrophe? So he stole it from
Yale.
Yankees.
Yes.
It got
Via
filtered
Vanderbilt.
through friggin' Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Right.
And then we took it. And this is
Yeah.
the same Joker who foisted cheerleading on us?
Yes, we have cheerleading at our university in 100%. We have 100% Red Matthews to thank for that. Yes.
We probably should dig him up and burn the corpse.
Well, he's widely lauded as one of the more influential VFLs. So you may have some problems on campus, but I would back you up. I'd be there.
This is
right.
a catastrophe. This guy.
Well,
like he introduced a new disease or something. Like he was Typhoid Mary for COVID or whatever. This is awful. I'll quit, but good night.
He died in 1978. He died at the age of 99. And Ripley actually included him among his Believe It or Not cartoons and credited him with being the first cheerleader in all of college sports.
Okay.
So not only did
that is a suitable punishment for a man who did so many awful things. There is the arc of the cosmos, the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice.
Now, for cheerleading for him would have been much more gymnastic than,
basket tosses and
I don't know. All right, well let's wrap up our time here with the official fight song. These are the lyrics to "Here's to Old Tennessee," which is what you'll typically see. It's "Down the Field" is the name of the tune, but you'll typically see it referred to as "Here's to Old Tennessee." So these are the lyrics to our fight song. Here's to Old Tennessee. Never we'll sever. We pledge our loyalty forever and ever. Backing our football team, faltering never. Cheer and fight with all of your might for Tennessee. Those are the lyrics to our official fight song. And listener, if you've hung with us, go ahead.
That also sounds like the rhymes you write as a kid, where you get stuck on one rhyme pattern and you just have to keep going with it until you peter out. he just hopped to one more and then wrapped the whole thing up. I'm telling you, this is a dumpster fire.
It's like it's like Gaylord Fokker's prayer in Meet the Parents, when he's praying and he's like, never, ever, ever, and ever,
forever.
I kind of like it, but all right. So if you've hung with us this far, and if you're as disgusted as we are, you're sitting there asking yourself, "I've never heard of this song before. I've been to Neyland Stadium a million times. We've never sung this. We always sing Rocky Top. So what are you talking about?" And that's true. The unofficial official fight song of the University of Tennessee is Rocky Top. So where does that come from? So Rocky Top was written in 1967. So that year, famed husband and wife songwriters Felice Bryant and I can't pronounce this French name, Baudelaire Bryant? I don't know.
Bryant.
The Bryants. They were staying very famously at the Gatlinburg Inn in East Tennessee. And they were there working on songs for the entertainer Archie Campbell. And you, listener, if you're interested, you can actually go to the Gatlinburg Inn today, and you can go to the room where Rocky Top was written. That's a room that you can actually stay in. It's not even like a museum exhibit. Like, you can just go stay there. And so, okay, according to Tennessee athletics history and later accounts from the Bryant family, they were tired of writing slow songs, and they decided to create something that was more upbeat. And the result was Rocky Top. It was reportedly they said that they wrote it in about 10 minutes. So just think about that for a second. This is the kind of thing that blows my mind. And Mac, we should point out you are of course dressed appropriately, wearing the Rocky Top T-shirt with the Power T on it, and it is gorgeous. So think about that. 10 minutes. This family, this couple, decides they're going to just kind of go out on a limb, write a fun song about East Tennessee, and that song has become synonymous not just with Tennessee athletics, and not even just with East Tennessee, but as I'll say here later, Rocky Top in 2015 was lauded as the best college song in all of college sports. Yeah, it's incredible. Think about, it's on your shirt, right? It's deeply embedded and deeply rooted in Tennessee culture. This was like a 10-minute side project that this couple decided to do on a whim in an inn room here in Gatlinburg. It's just absolutely incredible. So, the result was Rocky Top, and later that year, very famously, the Osborne brothers picked it up in '67. They recorded it. It instantly becomes a classic. So that's where Rocky Top comes from. But how does it get to the University of Tennessee? Well, on October 21st, 1972, during a halftime game where Tennessee is playing against their rival, the Alabama Crimson Tide, band director, and this guy, for as much as we hate Mr. Red, Dr. W.J. Julian should be, there should be statues of him all over East Tennessee. This guy is an absolute king. So Dr. W.J. Julian, the assistant director, and his assistant director, Barry McDonald, they included Rocky Top in a country music themed halftime show. So they were just doing a halftime show, it was a medley, just a bunch of country music, and Rocky Top is included. And basically, by firsthand accounts, Julian was initially skeptical. He didn't want to put the song in, but he played it during the halftime performance, and fans immediately were like, that song is amazing. The reaction is extraordinary. What was intended as a small part of a halftime medley became the most memorable element of the day. I don't know what the final score was that day, so don't ask me. But Tennessee fans embraced the song almost instantly. Julian later was quoted as saying that failing to play Rocky Top again would provoke a mutiny. Those are his words, among Tennessee fans, that it had become so embedded in our culture that if you had chose not to play Rocky Top on a Saturday afternoon, you would incite riots that could result in physical violence. That's how deeply embedded this song is in the culture of our program. So the Pride of the Southland Band, which is probably another Rocky Top Roots segment, so I won't talk too much about it, but just their involvement obviously can't be overstated. The band traces its roots back to 1869. It's one of the oldest collegiate bands in the United States, and their handling of of Rocky Top is a big part of the reason why it's so widely lauded in our culture. So. All right, the song's been recorded a dozen times by a dozen different artists. Of course, the Osborne Brothers is sort of the famous, the one that kind of everybody knows. And if you want to know where we play it, Rocky Top is played during or immediately after touchdowns, after big defensive stops, during pregame festivities. They play it during the Vol Walk. They play it at basketball games. We play it at baseball games, and it covers all of our alumni events. So it is Tennessee's unofficial official fight song. And I won't rob for myself. I'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, boys, if you had to pick one moment that is sort of the most famous Rocky Top moment, what would you pick?
Gosh, I got nothing. Mac, you got something?
I mean, like mine are all like personal anecdotes of just like the times that I've heard it played in stadium during big moments. But I can't think of like a worldwide or nationwide, version of that.
For sure. I was thinking more specifically just to the Tennessee football program. This is becoming a tradition at the University of Tennessee. It was started by Peyton Manning, right? So,
right. Now I already know what you're going to say.
Very, very famously, Peyton goes up and directs the band as they're playing Rocky Top, and that's become cemented as sort of part of Rocky Top lore. And was it Hooker or Dobbs? I can't remember now. I guess it was Hooker, or was it Dobbs? I don't remember. Anyway, one of our more recent quarterbacks.
Everyone's done it now.
Yeah, everyone's done it now. So that's sort of become just sort of part of the Rocky Top lore, the Rocky Top legend, that the quarterback gets to do it. Again, it's kind of famous. So in 2015, I already mentioned this, Rocky Top was ranked as the top fight song tradition in college football, which is amazing because it's not technically our fight song. But it was still ranked in 2015 by the USA Today as the best fight song tradition. And again, one of the things that makes it Rocky Top stand out as being unique as a fight song is that it's not specifically about the University of Tennessee. It is more broadly regional about East Tennessee, and encapsulates an entire culture. And one could argue that that's the reason why it is has stuck and has become so embedded in all of Tennessee culture, sort of supersedes the collegiate program. So that's Rocky Top. It is our unofficial official fight song. I think everybody would say it's better than Down the Field. If you're curious, the actual order of operations when we score is that the band will play Down the Field first, then they will play Rocky Top, and then they will play whatever their outro is, which sometimes is my honorable mention here, which is Fight Vols Fight. So Fight Vols Fight is not our official fight song. It's not Rocky Top, but it is a song that we play a lot. So I thought I'd just give it a quick honorable mention. It was written by Gwen Sweet, and the music was composed by Thornton W. Allen. The Sweets and Allen wrote music as a part of Allen Intercollegiate Music Incorporated, and he composed fight songs for other universities. He was like a university fight song composer for hire. Fight Vols Fight was copyrighted in 1939, and it's been a part of the sports tradition since the 40s, basically. So not our fight song, but still part of our tradition. So that is Rocky Top. Let me end because one of the questions I had was how many other college programs have this sort of unique relationship to their fight song, where we have an official fight song that is kind of on the books, but we have this unofficial fight song that is kind of the one that captures the hearts, the affections, the imaginations, and kind of stirs the people up in this way. And Tennessee is definitely the top of that list. There's really not another university that comes kind of to our level of having Down the Field and Rocky Top. The one that's kind of in the conversation is West Virginia. So West Virginia's official fight song is Fight Mountaineers, but their unofficial anthem, of course, is Country Take Me Home, Country Roads, right? Which they sing. They kind of use this in a similar way that we do to Rocky Top. Some other honorable mentions: Oklahoma has a fight song that's just called Oklahoma, but their spirit song is Boomer Sooner, which is probably the one all the fans know. That the Texas A&M, Southern California, they have ones. One last interesting note here: Notre Dame's fight song is the Notre Dame Victory March, which to go all the way back to the beginning, Studwell ranks as being in the top 2 best fight songs ever in any college program. But Notre Dame, Our Mother, is kind of their version of Rocky Top. So even the one that's sort of the longest standing and at the fountainhead has a similar setup. So yeah, that's Rocky Top.
One question I have already, Joe, is so like you're listing, West Virginia. So like, does West Virginia use Country Roads the same way that Tennessee uses Rocky Top? Like after every touchdown, like is that when they're singing Country Roads?
Yeah, my understanding is that they use Country Roads in a way that is very similar to us. So I don't know if it's after every touchdown necessarily, but it's in big moments. That's kind of their pump up song.
Yeah.
So again, all my research tells me that like we are unique in that in the excessive imbalance between
Right.
our actual official fight song and our unofficial fight song.
Right.
No university is as imbalanced as we
Right.
are.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because like when I think of schools that have a most famous song tied to their traditions or tied to what they do, that's not actually their fight song. There's a lot of other schools that come to mind, like obviously Alabama. Um, you could go with Wisconsin, right? Jump around, they play that, but that's like not their fight song.
Right.
There's other schools like that have like a really Florida with the Tom Petty song. You know, like
Right.
there's a lot of schools
Right.
that have like this, but it seems like most of those schools have created that tradition at an isolated time in the game. So like, I know Alabama, I know Florida, both of those schools play that song, their respective songs, like between the third and fourth quarters.
Right.
But
It's
that's like
like,
the only time you'd hear it.
yeah, it's like their version of Renegade. I don't know if West Virginia is in that category, but my understanding is that they're not in ours, which makes me think they're probably in that category.
Okay.
Where like Country Roads is going to play not after every touchdown, but just in specific moments, like what you just described.
Sure.
Doesn't that map onto The Way I Talk by Morgan Wallen?
Yeah, and Tennessee has embraced that between the third and fourth quarter tradition that a lot of schools have now, and they do the Morgan Wallen song. Actually, the first year they started doing that, does anyone remember what song that they played?
Friends in Low Places. It was pretty cool.
Yes, it was cool. And like obviously, I like Garth Brooks a lot, not the person, but the music. And so I guess Tennessee's just kind of latched on to that being a just general college football tradition now that everyone has a song they play between the third and fourth quarters, and it always is, it riles up the crowd, going into the fourth quarter. But yeah, to your point, Joe, I think all of those are a different category entirely than like what you would think of as a traditional fight song.
Right. Like we treat Rocky Top like a fight song.
Exactly.
Right. We play it like a fight song. It is, we utilize it in the same way that they are utilizing their fight songs. I don't think any other school, I mean, based on my research today, no other school that I saw is doing that.
Right.
And go ahead.
Joe, did you say that the official procedure after touchdown is down the field, Rocky Top? Then, dude, I would like to inject somebody with True Serum because I have never heard anything but Rocky Top hit immediately.
Well, my druthers on that is probably that down the field is only 30 seconds long.
Yeah, I know it. I've heard it. My sons are obsessed with listening to like the Pride of the Southland band's like soundtrack. They have like an album where it just plays all the songs they play on a Saturday game day, and Down the Field always plays before Rocky Top when you play the album sequentially. So I know exactly how it goes. They don't sing it; it's just the band.
No. Right.
So you just hear it, but like musically, you wouldn't catch it unless you know it's there, or because they'll play Down the Field, and then what you'll hear, Jeff, is you'll hear the director of the band with the whistle go beep, 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 and then they'll start Rocky Top. But before that, they play Down the Field.
That's just hard to believe because I mean, like everybody knows the experience.
Another reason why you probably don't know it as much is because they are playing down the field oftentimes. This is just practically football speaking, during the extra points. They actually will play it very quietly. If you watch the band in person is when you see it, because they're all still like, do it like they're moving to the beat and they're still playing while the kicker's kicking the extra point. And then as soon as it goes to the uprights, that's when the beep, 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 beep is, and they start Rocky Tops. That's also maybe why you haven't heard it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's kind of one of those like you miss it until you're looking for it, but that's the official procedure. We get down the field and then Rocky Top every time. So be listener, be looking for it, be listening for it. Although when Neyland is erupting because we just scored, you're probably not going to hear down the field.
Right.
Like exactly. I mean, you're just not.
Well, and Rocky Top hits so quick after.
But everybody knows. Everybody's anticipating it because we're going to sing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it just you're kind of locked in. But when we're all it's the time where you're high-fiving me because we just scored a touchdown. That's when they're playing down the field.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet. So
they should stop then. They should stop playing the crap and just get to Rocky Top.
Well, so that was going to be my question. My question to you guys was going to be: should we just abandon down the field and or here's to Old Tennessee if you want to use sort of our rebranding of Down the Field. Should we just abandon here's to Old Tennessee, just let it go, and just go with Rocky Top?
Yes. So I had two thoughts during your presentation. One, that inn in the or that room in the Gatlinburg Inn, that had to be exactly what Virgil and Dante and the great poets of the West felt when the muse came upon them. You know, that had to be a supernatural encounter. The other thing is that I'll just love our fans even more because we've got this carpetbagger from Illinois doing histrionics on the sideline. He brings us this snob trash from the north and kind of foists it upon us. And the first chance we get to hear something decent from Appalachia, we're like, no, that's what we're doing. Get rid, whatever. Like, I love it, man.
Red was like, the lyrics are what? They said, what about the FBI? No way.
I'm going to rent. I'm not an occultist, but I'm sorely tempted to rent the room at the Gatlinburg Inn, try to conjure Red's spirit, and then just belittle and harass him in the afterlife.
Oh my gosh.
Robert Clayton Red Matthews, not only was he our first cheerleader, but he introduced cheerleading to college sports.
Yeah, it's hard to find a clean invective for that guy. You know what I mean? But I'm glad he's gone.
Oh my gosh. Who do you hate more, Danny White or Red Matthews?
Right now, Red Matthews, but Danny's got a good pace. He might overtake him.
Oh man. I had another question, Joe. Yeah, so like lyrically, did you get into any of the lyrics of Rocky Top?
No, I didn't do a deep dive on their composition. I know it was revised, and I can't remember. Let me see if I have that note. I don't. I didn't write it down. Yeah, no, I didn't do a deep dive. Why? Do you have something on that front?
Well, I mean, no, all of you know this, and all of our listeners probably know this. So this is not breaking news or anything, but the reason why Rocky Top is so meaningful, and probably to Jeff's point, like the reason why the fans kind of dictated, like, hey, Rocky Top's what we're doing now, is it was a popular song made popular by the Osborne brothers, but it's popular also because of what it says, right? And so what it says in the song is that it's just basically this being very proud of where you come from and not allowing outside forces to impact your way of life is basically the point of it, right? And so, if our listeners don't know this, I recently talked to someone who didn't know this. That's why I wanted to bring it up. One of the famous lyrics right before the chorus is "Strangers ain't come down from Rocky Top, reckon they never will," and that is referencing federal agents who were trying to impose prohibition upon East Tennesseans who were selling alcohol. And so that's like where the root of that lyric comes from. And so obviously, like, being a Tennessean, I'm very proud of that like lyric, and I'm very proud of the fact that like local Tennesseans refuse to bow down to unjust law and being imposed by the federal government. And so, Rocky Top is a spit in the face, if you will, of big government. And so I love that about it.
You're here.
Yeah. Rocky Top is great. It's kind of one of those, you talked earlier, Jeff, about like seared memory, right? Like cement memory. I can remember the feel of the sun and like the smell of the stadium, the sweat in the grass, and the stadium food. And Nick, just hit me like you're like, it was like, you're about to hear Rocky Top live in Neyland for the first time. Like this is like a core memory for you. Like, pay attention, it's just smacking me, like get ready for it. And it just like, Rocky Top just washed over me. And I was like, I need to know every word to this song because it's amazing. It's just incredible. We really do have the best traditions.
No, for sure. And what's cool about Rocky Top too is like how singable it is, and like there's so many things like, we talk about this, being at church all the time, but like the reason why Rocky Top is so easy to sing is actually because it's in a higher vocal range. So like if you try to sing a fight song and if you were singing isolated, if you're a man who doesn't sing often, your temptation is to try and sing low because that feels more comfortable, and it's like I'm a man, my voice is deep, so I'm going to sing. But the reason why Rocky Top is able to be belted in the way that it is, and the way it's able to just fill the stadium like you described, Joe, is because that it's actually a higher vocal range, and so you have to have breath support and sing loudly to be able to sing the notes that are in that chorus. And so it just lends itself to a song, just like the writers intended, to be sung quickly and with gusto and with a lot of enthusiasm, and you can't really sing it any other way.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So
core memory and tradition of the Volatile podcast is Joe Davis screaming out of a van at Concord fans of other teams. You like that banjo, don't you? I'm not doing justice, but that's, again, core memory and tradition of the Volatile podcast.
That's true. That's an all-time.
Somewhere in Starkville, Mississippi, there's a young lady with her fingers still in the air.
Oh, gosh.
But she liked that banjo.
She liked that banjo. She got plenty of it.
Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
I had one more thing I was going to say, and now I can't think of it. But must not be that important. All right, Jeff, you want to tell them where they can find us? Yeah,
so we're on social media primarily at Twitter or x.com. Volatile. Actually, is it volatile_1998 or volatile?
Yeah,
pod?
That's right.
Yeah.
Volatile_1998.
Yeah. Really glad I could handle this segment for us, guys. Anyway, we don't do a lot of podcast promo, and so it usually happens on X when it does happen. We'd appreciate any boosting on that because we think more people would enjoy the podcast.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to our show tonight. Rocky Top Roots is something we've really enjoyed doing this off season, so definitely come back. Nick is in charge of that segment. He'll be back next week, so he'll tell us then what we'll be singing. In the meantime, just remember, it's terminal.